We'll go on to another gruesome series. This is called Transatlantic Vows, and it's an homage to Syrian poet Nizar Kabbani, who rocked the Middle East with his love poetry in the 60s. Transatlantic Vows. With you, I float on coconut flakes and climb jasmine vines. You are my other country, no passport necessary. In illuminated nights I rummage through to scrape back to you, my other, to cut into this present, this isolated present. My other country, you are where, you are there, make me other, be my other, sit still, be still, so I can climb the winding vine. Rake me inside so I can transcend the present. Foreign affairs were never so simple till soil mixes with blood. In my passport you wrote freedom, spelled forward, up, and down. It meant Bondrin, revolution, tangerine splitting tongue highs. In both hands I held its face, open to only you. My fish under my sebaceous layer, my rattle tattle, my sweet green brew, poured from on high for a froth in a little glass. With you I go to another country. Every time you open your eyes, sigh, purse your lips, or silently sit. My other country is right next to me, but with this passport you gave me, I travel miles and miles, hours and hours, lives and lives.
Right.
The next series is inspired by the murder of a German immigrant woman in 1861 in around Bowling Green, Ohio, in Wood County, Ohio. And this section is called Core Knife Row, the death of an unvirtuous woman. I'd like to take Rome for her help in that title. So I learned of this case when I was doing my MFA at Bowling Green State University. There was a historical museum that's there, and they had the artifacts from this murder. They had the noose that Carl Bach was hung in. They had the core knife that he murdered his wife in. Does anyone know what a core knife is? A core knife is a 12-inch long knife, and it's trenched.
Oh.
Yes. They also had a couple of her fingers in a glass jar. And a more pallid memory there is the newspaper article. If it wasn't bad enough how Mary Bach was murdered, the newspaper assaulted and victim blamed Mary Bach through its word choice. There were 3 special words that the newspaper used for her. I had to look up what these words were. All 3 were for women. They were termagant, a nagging or overbearing woman; virago, which means a domineering, violent, or bad-tempered woman; and the third, slatternly, of a woman or her appearance dirty and untidy, slovenly, dirty through habitual negligence, or characteristic of a slut or prostitute. So this first poem is called The Big Bad Bach Wolf. It's a spin-off on the fairy tale of the wolf and Little Red Riding Hood. The Big Bad Bach Wolf. Once upon a time, there was a domestic disturbance. Mary Bach wouldn't let Carl Bach in. It was cold. No, not 0 below. Carl huffed and puffed and pushed right through the door. Mary screamed and screamed for him to leave. He stood still and glared. His blue eyes shone, full of hatred for his wife. How dare she try and keep him from what was his? He stood still, looked around at the house he'd built, gathered its objects with his eyes, then widened his feet. This woman was nothing but a slab of meat. Just like the hog that squealed before slaughter. Soon it'd be quiet, Carl thought.
Yeah.
This next poem is told from the point of view of the sheriff. And Carl Bach was an odd man. He actually turned himself in. Neighbors didn't believe him. The sheriff didn't believe him. It took a while for people to know. The sheriff. I can't crack Carl's laugh from my mind. He rode up behind me, called my name real loud, then chuckled like a bird landed on my nose. Lowly he whispered, "Did Don Marianne is tote, 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 tote." It wasn't his words that caught me. but the children's tears as they sat and stared. And so he's saying that she's dead.
Yay.
And this next poem is from Carl's point of view. It's taking the word termagant as the title. Termagant. Constantly making terms, finding new ways to scold. Oh, with her mouth, boy was she bold. Over and over she told and told me what to do, chastised me right and left, till there was little of me left. This next poem is a bit long, and it's a very narrow poem. I'm trying to replicate the blood flowing out of Mary Bach as she's dying, and to get the sense of the Carl's frustration too as killing her. It's called Making Silence, and it is in 2 sections. Making Silence. 1. That night a turn, quickly, a grab, a gasp. At 7 p.m., Carl Bach burst from the shed door, entered the house, demanded to sleep inside. Mary, his wife, said no. Growling, pushing, a jab, jumped out, went, cha, there it is. There it comes. He had a corn knife, slew Mary Bach repeatedly. Blood pouring, rolling, faster and faster. She struggled, attempted to raise herself. But Carl gorged, tore through and through, getting gossip to go, go, go. Finally, it's estimated at 9 p.m. it all went. Ah, go, go, gone, down. The children do not remember when. Drip, 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 drip. Ah, a willow wilting. Then he put her to bed, and the children beside her, down and down, deeper, till still. They stayed next to her till morning, when he came to pull back the wool blanket. The children wore their mother's blood. He ordered them to scrub themselves up, while he carried Muti to the wagon. Together they all drove into town. Still and still, still, still. Silent, 6 eyes wide. She was 40 years old. A whisper. 2. This comes back and back, over and over, through and through. My father's hand squeezed my mother's neck in 1992. This domestic hate goes on and on. His eyes stared. He wanted her air out, out, out. These men want these women silent. No sound, no voice, no dissent, no movement. Just still, just silent. Piece by piece, word by word. Violence grows from one rain. It then comes to rain and rain, to when the heart, the voice, the breath become still. This next poem is very short. It's told from the child's point of view, and it uses a nursery rhyme and nursery rhyme / prayer motif. It's called Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep. Tucked in tight by father tonight, tucked in fright, tucked with might. Just stay still till light, and don't let the bedbugs bite. Now Muti's right, silent and still. We never thought Fati kill. And this is the last poem from the Bach section that I'll read to you tonight. And it talks about the newspaper victim blaming Mary Bach. Newspapers, tars, and feathers. 3 words bound and tied Mary in black and white. A wife who fights, well, it serves her right. Termagant binds her ankles and her wrists. A woman already dirty, unkempt, so what's a little blood? Slatternly pulls the rope tight and ties knots. No lady, such a bad temper, thinking herself always right and speaking with might. Virago stuffs her mouth, her stomach, her soul with black rags. So now I'll read you some later poems.